Since I finally got my Super Prolight all set up, why not rip it all apart and start over again? So I have a couple goals in mind. One, I just really dislike using Mach 3. I've used that on several machines and it usually gets the job done, but it's aggravating to me usually. So I want to swap this out for a Masso controller. My second goal is I need to get this in an enclosure. Man, it just makes such a mess, and I have toddlers and I need to keep my workshop clean. So I have a number of upgrades I'm gonna do while I'm doing this. So here they are, not in any specific order. Install the controller. While I'm doing the controller, I need a good place to mount it. So I'm gonna build some kind of enclosure where I can mount it to the side. Give me a good mounting point and control all the chips. While I have the control box open, I'm going to go ahead and add two more motor drives. That way, if I want to play around with my fourth and fifth axis trunnion table, it'll be ready to go for that. Also, I want to hook up one of these hand wheels because, yeah, it's just kind of annoying to have to click on the computer and go back and forth whenever you could just do it right there. I want to add a mist coolant sprayer. I want to add a more convenient button whenever I want to manually trigger the tool release. You can do it now on the machine, but you need like a little screwdriver because it doesn't really have a usable button. For the ATC part, I want to add a tool setter so it can automatically set the tool heights whenever it changes. Also, I want to wire up this probe. All right, I've got the machine all opened up so I can start taking out this Mach3 controller to prepare for wiring the Masso. I've also removed all of my pneumatic tool holder system that's not going to work with it. So yeah, I'm ready to get started here.
I get everything unplugged and remove the controller. Then I jump right into building the enclosure and get the extrusions cut to length.
Okay, here's what I have so far for the enclosure frame. I think I'm going to try to do two pieces of acrylic that just sit in these grooves, and I'll put sliders on them so I can slide them open from either side for access. And then I put these two cross beams right here where I'm going to mount the Masso.
I get the Masso controller unboxed so I can figure out the height that I want to mount it at.
I forgot to turn on the camera, but I've drilled 4 holes here. Mount the Masso.
I get the extrusions adjusted to a comfortable height, and then I can get the controller bolted to it.
Step 1, install the battery.
I remove the panel so I can get access to the battery compartment. Now I can install a CR2032 battery. And put back on the cover panel. Now that I have space in my electrical box, I'm going to get these stepper motor drivers ready to install. Off camera, I got them mounted.
I need to install 2 of these aviator plugs so that I can plug in the trunnion table and remove it whenever I need to.
I mark the positions and drill pilot holes, and then come back with a larger drill to finish up the holes.
Here's what I want to do for the acrylic doors. Like that. I bought some handles here. I'll just put one here and one here. Slide it open for access on that side. Slide it open for access on that side. I marked on both these panels where I want the handles to go. And I think since I have a CO2 laser, I'm going to go ahead and use that to cut out the holes so I don't risk cracking the acrylic panel while trying to drill it. Just gonna try to align this red dot pointer with the little marks that I put on here. Alright, that looks pretty good.
I remove the protective film and install the two panels. Now I can get the handles attached. Now I get a sheet of coroplast cut down to size to be the panels of the enclosure. Here's what I have so far. I'm going to wait on the side walls, that way I can still have access to the machine while I'm working on it.
I got a DB25 cable and a couple breakout boards, so I can run all the wires from, hook them up right here where the old controller was, then run them around and through this hole here, and then I'll mount the other breakout board right here, and so I can get it over to the controller. Because I don't have any good way to actually get this connector inside here, because it's too large, I think I'm going to cut a little notch right here. It allowed me to pass the cord up through the bottom. Then once the cover's on, you'll never even notice it.
Angle grinder to the rescue.
Did a little more cutting and then I filed it all smooth. It should work pretty well. Go from there somewhere.
I start by wiring up power to the controller.
I went ahead and added the 1 amp fuse that the Masso controller asks you to put in from the power line, or from the power source. So actually my power supply is coming through to this rail, and then before it heads up to the controller I have a fuse in here. I didn't show it, but I've gone ahead and got the X, Y, and Z motor wires hooked up to this breakout board. Alright, got all the motors wired up to this. I've been making a chart as I go so I know what it is when I get to the other end. Okay, I've got everything from this DB25 connector breakout board wired up. It was just the 5 motors and the spindle. And, oh, I guess the power too. So yeah, I somehow way miscalculated how many connections I needed. So I'm gonna buy a second DB25 cable and breakout boards to run the rest of the inputs, outputs, yeah, everything else. All right, I got the 2 new motor drivers wired to the aviation plugs, and yeah, everything over here is what I have left to do when I get the other DB25 connector. I'm gonna format my flash drive so I can load the software on there.
I log into my account on the Masso website and download the latest software. I've put the software on this flash drive, I get it plugged in, and then I can power on the controller for the first time and get it installed.
Here I'm just setting up all the motors. went ahead and plugged in the trunnion table, the A and B plugs right there, so we could test it out and make sure that it's working too. I just got all the axes set up in the Masso, and it looks like everything works. X works, Y works, Z works, A works, and the B works. It sounds like the spindle's working also. I've got the pendant all wired up. I had to solder up all the wires to this DB15 connector, and it needed 5 volts, so I put in this step down converter here. And yeah, let's see if it works. X. A. B. All right. E stops registering on there. That's good. All right, cool. Looks like everything's working. I just got the probe wired up real quick. It was only 3 wires up here. It looks like it's working. In the Masso, you just assign the probe to an input. So you just select an input, double click on it, and then pick what you want it to be. Input 22 is the probe, but it looks like here it's triggering it just fine. It has a nice probing wizard in here. That's one of the reasons I was excited about this. So yeah, once I get this set up, I'm gonna learn how to do this. But cool.
Now I'm ready to get my mist coolant sprayer mounted. I'm going to install a little bracket here to hold the tool release button.
Okay, I got the tool release button. I'm not sure why these machines didn't come with a button. I wonder if you just did it on the computer, but it's so much easier than... I've made this temporary mount for this tool setter. I'm not ultimately sure where I'm going to put it, and I'm going to build a smaller mount once I get the machine set up so I can make it out of aluminum. But I think for now I'm going to just stick it right here so I can make sure everything works with it. Basically, oh here, I just 3D printed these 2 parts. It's gonna sit like that. That sets to hold it in place. Then this kind of pops over it. Like that. There was just enough room to go ahead and mount another DB25 breakout board here so I can run the rest of my wiring for all the limit switches and let's see, for the relays and stuff. Here's the final wiring of everything inside here. It's not too pretty, but it's not too messy either. So I think I can finally close it up and get to setting it up. I've moved this quick connect fitting from the regulator, and I ran a hose and I zip tied it over here to the front so that I can just plug in right here. You can see I got the mist cooler hooked up, goes down to here, and I have 2 solenoid valves right there. One controls the mist coolant, and one controls the tool height setter, clean off blow right there. And this hose goes down, which is going to be some coolant in a jug there. Okay, everything is pretty much done except for adding the tool rack, which I still have to 3D model and figure out how I'm gonna make that. But here's the final view before I go ahead and put the sides on this enclosure and close everything in.
Alright, enclosure's all done. Now I need to figure out my tool rack situation. I've designed a new tool rack in Fusion 360. This one's much simpler. The base part is going to be 3D printed, and then it's going to have a steel plate on top to hold the tools. I'm also going to wrap the front of the base with a galvanized steel sheet, that way it will keep the hot chips from melting into it. I really like that the base is 3D printed, that way if I ever crash the machine into the rack, it'll fail rather than something that actually matters. I've also went ahead and modeled up a better mount for the tool setter. This one puts it in the exact position I want it. First I'll use my fiber laser cutter to cut out the galvanized sheet panel. Then I use it to cut out the top plate out of 16 gauge steel. Since I finished building my fiber laser engraver, I'm going to go ahead and use it to etch in the tool numbers and my logo on the top plate. I laid out this design in Adobe Illustrator.
Alright, I've got the file all set up and it looks like it's previewing right where I want it to mark. So let's try it. Alright, looks like it worked. I've got the tool rack holder 3D printed and mounted with this cover plate. And then I've got the tool height setter 3D mount 3D printed and installed. Okay, now I can start assembling this. Alright, now I can drop in some tools. And here's what we have. Ready to test it out. The Masso has several pre-built ways to set up the tool changer, so let's go here. I chose the linear tool changer type 2. Then I set up my 4 positions for my tool rack, and then I set up a 5th position to do my manual tool change. Now that I have the tool rack set up, I'll show you what the machine does on startup. First you have to hit the E-stop, then double tap it to home it. Then it does an air blast to clean the tool setter, then it automatically adjusts, sets the tool height for the tool that's in the spindle. Now I can open up the MDI and have it change tools. Let's do tool 3.
And now it's going to set the height of this new tool.
Right now the Masso has no logic for changing a tool that's not in the rack, so if I have a fifth tool or I want to use a probe or something, I have to have it drive to a dummy position and manually change it quickly there. Here's how that works. First it's going to return the tool, then I have to be ready to insert the probe when it pulls forward here. This works okay except for whenever it needs to return the tool and I have to be ready to catch it so it doesn't just drop it in midair, like this. I'll show you the probing real quick. I'll set it up to probe the corner of my vise. So we'll do this corner, and I have it with a 10 millimeter offset on each side. I'll just jog it into position here. And then we can start the probe cycle. And it's done. These two buttons on the Masso controller can be programmed to whatever you want. So right now I have them set up to turn on and off the mist coolant.
Right now I have my vise mounted with these temporary clamps that I 3D printed and then laser cut this steel top to. So first job for this machine is going to be to cut out some proper clamps. And that's what I've done. However, this video is getting kind of long and I hate to leave you hanging, but I think I'm going to do a separate video showing how I cut out that job. Thanks for watching. I'm super excited to finally have all of my machines ready to go and looking forward to the fun projects over the summer. Special thanks to all my Patreon supporters. Your guys' amazing support really makes all this worth doing. Thank you so much. Bye.